Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham, and welcome to this stage 13 preview of the Tour de France. Well, what a stage 12 we had. Let's pop straight onto those classifications. It was a stage, unfortunately, I couldn't watch live, but I managed to, in between all the load shedding issues in that year in South Africa, I managed to catch up on it. I caught the gist of it. What an incredible stage. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a stage with so much attacking early on. I mean, everybody was going for it. Multiple guys from multiple teams were flying into the break. This truly has been a remarkably exciting Tour de France. And just guys are just leaving everything out on the table. And I can only imagine there's going to be some massive time gaps and collapses coming in the final week because there's really, really been some hard riding. In the end, it took forever to get the break to go away. I was very relieved when I heard that Wout van Aert didn't make it into the break because, of course, I took him at 7 to 10 not to finish in the top three. That ensured a profit on the stage for me, even though I wasn't able to get any of my riders into the break. The closest I came, I think, was Aaron Buru did try and get away early, but he was picked back. In the end, it was prolific Grand Tour stage winner. He always manages to pop up, now riding for Cofidis. Izagirre, great win for him. He broke away on the final climb. Mathieu van der Poel tried to go with him, probably made a mistake in trying to go with him at that point. He just absolutely blew up and fell backwards. The rest of the break tried to chase him, but without any success. Bergado, a great ride there for the Total Energies team in second. Jorgensen, well, we saw the heartbreak he had the other day on the final climb. He's showing he's still got some good legs there for the Movistar team, finishing third. And then Atish Banu was the Jumbo Visma representative up front. He finished fourth with Johannesson, who's having a brilliant year. Well, brilliant tour, let's put it this way, coming in fifth. And Pino managing to move himself up into the top 10 of the classification with his sixth place finish. And Martin, his usual tactics of getting into the break to move himself up. Interesting, though, because Pino, of course, now that he's sort of more in contention, is not going to be given any freedom in today's in stage 13, which ends on a climb that he would really like to win. Anyway, a quick look at the outright bet. We've got Pogacar 9 to 10 favorite ahead of Vingegaard. We've got three stages now over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which are going to have a big role in this general classification. Let's hope for an exciting battle, and let's hope that coming out of it and going into the third week, we are still no wiser as to who is going to win this great race. Right, let's move on to the stage itself here, and it's quite an interesting one. You'll see a very first of all, it's very short, 137.8 kilometers, and it's a very flat start. Before you've got this uncategorized climb here, which is when you look at it, it looks fairly hectic, but it's not a great gradient. I think it's sort of 4%, 3 or 4%, but about 16 kilometers, and then they descend. There's a bit of a valley there for 10 kilometers, and then they go up the Gran Colombia, 17.4 kilometers at 7.1%. I mean, that is a brute of a climb. But the interesting thing, I guess, about this climb is the real hard yards come at the bottom. And then it does, when I say flatten out, I mean, it's still got gradients of sort of 6%, 5, 6, 7%, but it's not as steep towards the top. So that does change things when you look at it from a tactical riding perspective. Because it's a flat start, a lot of the climbers who you would fancy might be able to hang on in a break and get up this final climb are going to battle to get into the break, unless they've got perhaps teammates who can help them. Someone like Ciccone, for example, could have a Mats Pedersen. He can hop on his wheel, and Pedersen might be able to get him in the break. What sort of a break is going to go and how early? It's going to be very interesting to see. I think a lot is going to depend on whether Jumbo-Visma or UAE, the team of Vingegaard and Pogacar, want to do any chasing. In other words, they want to win the stage. Now, I'm going to rule Jumbo-Visma out. I think they would ride Tempo on the front as the holders of the yellow jersey, but they don't really want to bring the breakaway back because the chances are quite good that Pogacar would beat Vingegaard up the final climb, certainly if it came to a sprint, and he would take the bonus seconds. They don't want to give that away, which means it's really all going to fall in the lap of UAE. Will they chase this breakdown and Pogacar try and win the stage? He's won on this climb before. He beat Roglic in 2020 in a sprint finish on this climb. It sounds funny to talk about these climbs and to talk about a sprint finish. I mean, I would never even consider sprinting up a climb at any point. But so will Pogacar and his team go for it? I've got a feeling that probably will. It's a fairly short stage, so you can control the stage fairly easily. Say, but with 2 days ahead before the rest day, really tough days in the mountains. And let's face it, stage 12 absolutely burned so many people out. it also wouldn't surprise me if the break went to the end. And you'll see in my staking plan, I've sort of got a bit of a mixture of the two. In fact, I've gone more for the break. And even with my outrights, with my selection from the bunch, I'm hoping for some tactical stuff on the final climb. So let's get into the betting then. On that stage, we got Pogacar here is a 27 to 20. Sorry, that is the Tour de France winner betting. No, that's stage 13. He's 27 to 20 here with World Sports Betting. Vingegaard at 4 to 1. So the way the bookies are betting is that the stage will come down to general classification, and I can totally understand those odds because there's no doubt about who the best two riders are in the field. It's Pogacar and Vingegaard. But let's just go back to the stage 13 quickly. We got the steep bits in the bottom, and then it gets a little bit more gradual further on. What that means is, take Vingegaard, for example. If he's going to beat Pogacar, he's probably going to have to do the damage in this lower section here and possibly have someone who, from the breakaway, who might be ahead to pull him away. So he's got to probably try and distance Pogacar to win the stage. He could beat him in a sprint finish, but it's unlikely. Pogacar, on the other hand, is also going to probably try and crack him and get some more time off him and attack him towards the end of the steeper section. It really depends who's got the legs. But there must be a pretty good chance that the two of them neutralize each other on the stage. And what's going to happen then, let's just say the break is caught and you've got Pogacar and Vingegaard who pull a 30-second gap on the rest of the field. If Pogacar can't pull away from Vingegaard and vice versa, they're going to look at each other. There's no doubt about that. Pogacar is not going to pull Vingegaard to the end and have him sprint around. And there's absolutely no chance that Vingegaard, is going to do the same and pull Pogacar to the end. What does that mean is that they will be on that final climb, and then the guys who they've pulled away from are going to actually come back at them. And you'll see by my staking plan that I'm looking for a couple of guys who might be in that group behind who can then take advantage of a standoff between Pogacar and Vingegaard and actually go for the victory. So let me bring my selections up here at the moment. I'm going to bring let me call him my headline selection. Now, first of all, I must tell you that I gave a lot of thought to backing Pogacar at the 27 to 20 mark. But, just this is the Tour de France. I mean, you could see today anything can happen in some of these stages. And tactically, I just couldn't back Pogacar at that price, even with the money back for second for World Sports Betting, because I almost think with Pogacar, it's either going to be first or not. I don't see him being beaten in a GC race. But at the end of the day, I'm not convinced that this is going to be a sort of full out to the line kind of stage. So I'm going for Pidcock here. Pidcock won't be able to stay with Vingegaard and Pogacar up the steep part of that climb, particularly if they go hard at each other. But he is riding really well. I'm very impressed with him. Remember, he's won on Alpe d'Huez before. Okay, that was from a breakaway. But I could see Pidcock being one of those riders who get back to them and then attacks on the sort of, let's call it the flatter part of the climb. And everybody looks at each other and he gets a bit of a march on them and goes on to win. So I quite like Pidcock here at 40 to 1. I'm expecting a big run from him. I'm taking that at Sun Bet. Then I'm going to put two more riders up here. Both can win from different situations. Both of them Jumbo-Visma. In fact, you're going to see three Jumbo-Vismas in my staking plan. Now, I was asked in the comments below one of my videos, can you make money if you're backing so many riders? Well, yes, if you're backing them at these sort of prices. I'm putting 5 bets of half a unit on, so 2.5 units. If any one of them come in, obviously I'm well in the profit. I am down for the Tour de France, but that's more a case of I just haven't been picking the guys to hit the brakes right, and hopefully I can bounce back with a nice winner soon. Last couple of stages have been profitable, and Philipsen has been particularly good for me. Anyway, I'm going Sepp Kuss here at 40 to 1. Why Sepp Kuss? Because the first guy to reach Pogacar and Vingegaard in the case of a standoff is probably going to be Sepp Kuss. He is sort of the third strongest climber, if you could put it that way, in the race. And then we've got an interesting situation because Kuss is not going to pull Pogacar up the climb either. So there's a potential all three of them could look at each other, and then Kuss would go on the front and just ride at almost a gentle tempo, allowing the other guys back in. Alternatively, Kuss could attack if Vingegaard doesn't have the legs. And will Pogacar go after Sepp Kuss? No, I don't think he will, because the problem is then he pulls Vingegaard with him when he goes after Sepp Kuss. So what do you do? And I'm of course, this might turn out to be totally the opposite, but I've seen a situation where Kuss could then catch the two of them and actually pull away, and no one would chase him down. Vingegaard certainly wouldn't chase him down, and Pogacar wouldn't want to pull Vingegaard along, and Kuss could actually get the stage win at 40 to 1. Wout van Aert, well, he tried everything to ruin my bet for me today. Tried to get into the break so many times and he didn't. He's probably not quite at his best, but gee, the way he was attacking today, I mean, yeah, I was amazed that he didn't get into the break. Now, Wout van Aert is a guy who likes to win stages, and are Jumbo-Visma going to try and send a rider or two up the road to potentially help Vingegaard, certainly on that final 5 or 6 kilometers of the climb, or perhaps even in the Valley Road? Yes, I think they might try to get in people in the break, and Van Aert would certainly be one of the obvious ones there. And if Van Aert is in the break and the break get a big gap, and Vingegaard sort of comfortable, he's still got Kuss, he's got Kelderman, he's got whoever he's got with him, Tish Benu still riding with him there, then Wout van Aert might just be given the nod to go for the stage. And he has won, let's not forget, a mountain stage of the Tour de France before. So I'm going with Wout van Aert there at 50-1. That is with Sunbet that I got that price. I don't expect that price to really shorten. He is a genuine 50-1 shot, because he may not, if he doesn't get into the break, he's obviously got no chance. Right, and then I've got 2 more at 100-1 prices. I'm going for another Jumbo-Visma here. I'm going for Kelderman. Kelderman's impressed me quite a bit, and he's also another that could be sent up ahead. Kuss wouldn't be sent into the break at this point. Vingegaard's going to keep him with him, but they could send Kelderman up with a view to helping Vingegaard if he senses some weakness with Pogacar and attacks. Overall, I must say I'm expecting a bit of a defensive ride from Vingegaard. I think he'd be a bit worried about pulling Pogacar along, but if he does see weakness, obviously that changes everything. Anyway, I could see Jumbo, if Van Aert doesn't get into the break, possibly Kelderman getting into the break. And it might also, yes, reach the point where they're given a freedom to go for the stage, and 100-1 Kelderman would look pretty good. And then Castro Vijay, he hasn't really, he's really been on sort of team duty most of the time, but he's certainly a rider with the capabilities of winning a stage like this. And who knows, Ineos might stick someone, well, I think they will try and stick someone into the break, but possibly he gets the nod, and he is the sort of guy who can finish it if he does. So there we go. I've got 40-1 is my shortest price. I haven't really looked at the match bets yet. I will look at some of the special markets, and I'll post any more bets in the Good for the Game forum, and there's a link to that down below in the description box. But thanks very much for watching this stage 13 preview. We got 2 cracking mountain stages to come over the weekend, and I'll have the preview for stage 14 up late Friday night or even the early hours of Saturday morning, depending how my Friday night goes. Enjoy the racing. I think we're in for another great stage.